Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome into Off the Radar here on SicEm365 Radio, taking a look at some stories of interest or just stories that we don't normally get a chance to talk about because we're busy with topics like Baylor or the Cowboys, what have you. This one is, first note though, is Baylor related because we just got this a little while ago. We already knew that Baylor baseball was going to take part in next year's Shriners Classic down in Houston, you know, the annual big tournament that they have. Well, now we know the field. Baylor baseball will be taking part in next year's Shriners Classic along with LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and UCLA. So that is your field. And obviously Tennessee and Texas just got done playing each other in the College World Series. UT eliminated Tennessee. So that is who they will face coming up next year for all you Baylor baseball fans. The NHL Seattle Kraken have named their first head coach. The Seattle Kraken expansion franchise is gearing up to launch, and Dave Hackstol is the first head coach in Seattle Kraken team history. And you got to love the Yahoo write-up on this because they say he wasn't the public's first choice, but he is for the Seattle Kraken. And then later on in the same article, they say Hackstol comes from the Toronto Maple Leafs where he served as an assistant coach, blah, blah, blah. He has never been part of an NHL franchise which has achieved any reasonable level of success, as each team he's been part of has failed to advance beyond the first round. However, he had a lot of success in college, is what they basically say. So, the Seattle Kraken have named their first head coach.
I'm very excited about their team name. It's a great team name.
Yeah, it is.
They've got pretty sick-looking jerseys and logos, I think.
It's an anchor with the S. Okay.
Well, yeah, but also it's like there's a Kraken, wrapped around it.
I think it's pretty cool. Seattle's starting to get is pro sports, kind of going. They'll probably get the Sonics back at some point in the next few years, but just interesting because we don't see a lot of expansion anymore. Pretty full to the gills, quite frankly, with teams, but there is going to be a new one in the NHL, and now they have named their head coach. Team USA Basketball has announced their roster for the Olympics. Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton, Zach LaVine, Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, Drew Holiday, Kevin Love, and the Pistons' Jeremy Grant. James Harden was going to take part, but then ended up pulling out. Obviously, was dealing with some issues with the hamstring injury, so he pulled out this week. So that's going to be the roster for Team USA. I have to say they're probably heavy favorites for the gold, but they will not have, it's kind of interesting who won't be on the team. No LeBron James, no Anthony Davis, no Steph Curry, no Kyrie Irving, no Jimmy Butler, no Donovan Mitchell, no Chris Paul. And then there were a bunch of guys who didn't make the cut, and that included Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Trae Young, Zion Williamson, Julius Randle, amongst some others. So that is going to be I don't even think they go Dream Team anymore. We just don't even use that phrase. Sometimes it pops up, but that's going to be your Dream Team for this year.
It's not anymore. And look, we're going to win the gold probably. That's what happened. And I like that we are going to win the gold, but I miss the chance that we might not win it. There was one time that we didn't in this whole time, but the 92 Dream Team was supposed to be a one-time message. If you're going to play with your pros, we're going to play with ours. And, oh, by the way, ours are Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and John Stockton. I mean, that's our team. So good luck. And that was supposed to be the one-time message. And then it got perverted after that to me.
Yeah, then it became just sort of hack, really. I mean, the Dream Team 2.0 and all this other stuff. But no, the original Dream Team was the Dream Team. And there will probably never be a roster like that ever again. But, yeah, I mean, as far as star power, I mean, all these guys are stars, are well-known. But, comparing it to, the Dream Team, you had, 7-8 guys who were all, the faces of franchises. I mean, it's pretty much Kevin Durant. It's pretty much what it is. Without having a Steph or a LeBron or those types of guys, it's pretty much Kevin Durant and then a bunch of other really good players. So, we'll see what happens, but that is going to be the Team USA roster.
Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, and I haven't seen the exact quote, but
I've seen the exact quote.
This is making the rounds that Jalen Rose mentioned, and again, Kevin Love is on the team because of tokenism. Basically, they needed a white guy.
Yeah, well, in 2016, they sent an all-black team, so that's again, 24 hours at Jay Williams and Jalen Rose saying things that were patently historically untrue.
By the way, Jay Williams tried to say he was hacked yesterday, 4 hours after his tweet came out. What a dork. You are a dork, Jay Williams, and just admit that you said something stupid and you got caught, because that does happen on social media. People pop off and say something dumb.
That's what
no one hacked your account to make a wrong Celtics
That's
tweet.
what Clarence Hill did when he said when the Dolphins hired Brian Flores, and he put up a tweet like no minorities in this hiring cycle, and it was like hello.
Yeah. Well, going back to Jalen Rose, he's mad that a white guy's on the team. I know how I would be received if I were to make a comment from the other position. If it was reversed, now there would never be an all-white Team USA basketball team.
Can they win it all?
No, probably. Well, I don't know, man. Who would? I doubt it. I don't know, but
that's another story.
But that's just Jalen Rose being an ass. Quite frankly, there's a lot of things you can point to and call out racism, but being upset or whatever he is miffed about the fact that a white guy made the team and calling it tokenism. Man, if the shoe was on the other foot,
oh my God,
no one would quit talking about it for 2 months, and that is the double standard that I'm so sick and tired of, and I'm not going to just sit back and not say anything about it anymore. So screw you, Jalen Rose, trying to pop off. Those comments are toxic, and we know how much you would be crying if somebody said something from the opposite stance.
I will say this as a guy that doesn't study all of the NBA, but Kevin Love is an average player now, right? Is he?
Yeah, he's not that good. I mean, there's a point there, but to make it about race is where he's being an ass. I mean, it's just not even necessary. Why even create that perception?
He can. Because he can, and there'll be no consequences.
Right, I know. And if, it's the double standards are ridiculous, and I just think that's a stupid comment by Jalen Rose, so whatever. The NFL has approved alternate helmets beginning in 2022. They sent a memo to clubs today saying teams will be allowed to wear 2 different helmets beginning in the 2022 season. Previously, they were only allowed 1, and that was for safety reasons. But I guess they thought, one helmet, one fit, it's going to be perfect and you never have to change it. But now they're going to loosen it up, and so you're going to see alternate helmets and color rush and all this other stuff that's going to go probably pretty wild and crazy. Yeah, throwbacks.
Is that the Cowboys' white helmet with the blue star?
Yeah, that's the thought. And, because their other helmet
Why did they get away
changed.
from those?
Because of the one helmet rule. They just let them do they haven't done throwbacks in a while. And the other reason was, instead of doing throwbacks, they were going to do the color rush, which supposedly match the helmets that they're using. And so they could or couldn't, but that was their big thing. The NFL will do something every year that will show you, there are people who will buy this ugly shirt. Like those Steelers throwback jerseys that look like bumblebees. They're
somebody's out there going, that's awesome.
Honestly, if you ever see the crowd at a Steelers game, you can see the pockets of the people that bought that jersey, because they'll buy anything Steelers. Or some of the color rush jerseys that honestly you would not wear on the street, even if you're trying not to get hit by a car. That people will buy them.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay. All right. The Steelers one's gross. Yeah. But oh well.
Rick Carlisle's talked about the Mavericks job opening, saying earlier today, it's hard to put an exact finger on it. It's just a feeling that I had that it would be mutually beneficial. My hope is Jason Kidd will be the next coach of the Mavs because he and Luka have so many things in common as players. I just think that it would be a great situation for Luka, and I think it would be an amazing situation for Jason. I'm the only person on the planet that's coached both of those guys and that knows about all of their special qualities as basketball players. To me, that would just be a great marriage, but that's just an opinion. So many have already claimed that he's trying to tank the Mavs and ruin their franchise by advocating for Jason Kidd. Some find it just weird that he's the former coach and he's advocating for somebody. But Jason Kidd is one of those that has been mentioned just because of, obviously, he played in Dallas and, could coach Luka and all of that. He's been on the Lakers staff here recently, but Rick Carlisle vouches for Jason Kidd as the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll see what happens there.
I don't know if that helps or hurts you.
I know, right? I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
Darius Geis, former Redskins, former Washington football team running back. He got dismissed last year because of an incident with a girlfriend. He has had charges dropped, domestic violence charges that were the reason why he got cut from Washington have now been dropped.
Like the next day he was dropped.
Yeah, it was pretty much right away. You could tell they were fed up with his BS, basically, and they were like, all right, final straw. They cut him. He was arrested last August on 3 charges of assault and battery, 1 count destruction of property, and a felony count of a strangulation, which was accused by his girlfriend. And then he had separate instances he was accused of domestic violence. But he got released the day of his arrest, and now he's had all the charges dropped. He and the accuser released a joint statement acknowledging their agreement and have found a resolution, apparently.
How much of a check did that cost him?
I don't know. I don't know how all that works. But
and he, of course, is still at the center of something going on with LSU that eventually will be a part of that investigation.
That's probably the biggest thing that he's facing right now.
Yeah.
But he was going to go to trial later this month. Now they've settled it, so he won't.
How long, you may say not, how long until somebody picks him up?
With his injury history and the pending stuff with LSU, I think it would be a while. And he wasn't, he's not been. He's not been good when he did play. Or good enough to where
his rookie year, there was a preseason game. And maybe it was his second year, because I know and you could see this guy is special. And then he had a run. He's special. But
you do, I'll give you the cautionary tale of Cecil Collins, who Jimmy Johnson brought to the Dolphins because, he had this 7-game run at LSU and then I think at another place. And he thought, okay, well, he's clear of his legal issues. And then, a year in, he gets in trouble again. So I think Darius Geis, if Deshaun Watson hasn't cleared his, and that's all civil trials right now, Darius Geis isn't going to clear it.
It's gone kind of quiet, hasn't it? Yeah.
Well, they don't start testifying until September. Yeah. And then Deshaun Watson won't testify until after the Super Bowl. So it's just...
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to take a chance, right? Especially that LSU stuff. I think that's got to get cleared up too. And you're right, his injury history just not reliable. If he is a risky pick by Washington in the first place. It was kind of like, hey, maybe he'll be healthy and we can take advantage of that. But then he was also kind of just a jerk off the field as well. I brought up a story a couple of days ago of the basketball team out in California that threw tortillas at their mostly Hispanic opponent. Well, no surprise, Coronado High School hoops coach J.D. LaPerry has been fired from his job following a school board voting unanimously at a meeting a couple nights ago. Apparently, the coach hurled cuss words at a staffer from the other team and said, "That's why you don't talk blank. Get your kids and get the blank out of here." And of course, he had players that were throwing tortillas at the other team. So he has been fired. He did tweet out an apology and said, unfortunately, a community member brought tortillas and distributed them, which is unacceptable and racist in nature. I don't condone the behavior, la-di-da. But
never said anything he was sorry about what he said to the coach, right?
Yeah. He didn't condone the other behavior, but his behavior, he had absolutely no comment on. But just following up on that story tonight, NBA, Phoenix and LA, the Clippers and the Suns. Phoenix is up in that series 2-0, and that will be an 8 o'clock tip-off.
Chris Paul's available, maybe.
Yeah. Tip-off on ESPN. And then tonight in the NHL, it'll be Vegas at Montreal. And Montreal leads that series 3-2. If the Canadiens win that game and go to the Stanley Cup Finals, it will be their first appearance and the first appearance by a Canadian team since 1993.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
What?
The Montreal has not been in the Cup since 1993.
You hear that, Canada? We're better at hockey than you.
Since a Canadian team or Montreal?
Montreal.
Okay, because the Canadians were like the Celtics in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. They ran off a stretch there for a while where they were the dominant, like they were the Yankees of hockey for the longest of time. Okay, all right.
Yep, so I just think that's cool with...
Celine Dion...
Well, no Canadian team has... I don't know because now I've lost the article. I don't know if it's... No Canadian team has won since 93.
That's crazy.
No Canadian team has won since 93, and that was Montreal. So they would...
Tampa Bay beat Vancouver.
Yeah, there's somebody's been in the finals, but they have not won. Canada.
I'm sorry, Calgary.
Yeah, Canada has not won since 93, and that was the Canadiens, and that was the last time the Canadiens were in the finals. So they win tonight or in their next game, and they will be going back for the first time since 93. So there are a few things that are off the radar.
Again tonight, Texas and Virginia, elimination game in the College World Series. Last night, Vanderbilt beat Stanford on a walk-off wild pitch. Here's an interesting story tied into Baylor. Dede Richards, who's now a part of the New York Liberty, her brother DJ yesterday released that he's going to Mount Verde Academy. He, of course, has been playing down in the Houston area. I don't know if he was at the same school, Cypress Ranch, as Dede was at. She's with the Liberty. Also, she was honored by CBS Sports Net for her story of coming back, the inspiration. She was honored. You can go to @CBS Sports NET, and there's about a 5.5-minute story about her collision. We know this with Moon Urson. That's been told a million times, but there's all sorts of different videos with her family, with Baylor, comments from Kim Mulkey, and much more. So she was honored by CBS Sports.
That's cool. I also wanted to make mention, Celine Dion says that was a Photoshop. She is not a Vegas Golden Knights fan. She is very much in support of her home of Canada and the Montreal Canadiens, because if you didn't see it, the Golden Knights flashed up a pic that was apparently photoshopped of her in a Vegas Golden Knights uniform, and people went crazy, and Canadians were all ticked off and like calling her a traitor and everything, but she says it was a Photoshop and tried to calm the nerves there.
She's probably the most famous person ever from Montreal, and I wonder, and I'm about to drop a pun here, if it's all coming back to her now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
That went right by me as well.
That's one of her songs, Smokey.
Oh, okay. It? All right, Craig, that's it. Thank you. Off the Radar every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:45. We have the 5 o'clock hour coming up in